Peace to the planet Earth. It is another wonderful, wonderful day. If you breathe in, you bless. And first and foremost, as always, thank you for spending your time with us. Your time is priceless. Your time is valuable. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here building with us right now, approximately 6 p.m., give or take, on this Thursday. How you doing, Brother Willie?
Fine, sir, by the grace of the Most High, the ancestors, all the freedom fighters, all the organizations, man. I'm just blessed to be here, to see another day, to walk, to see, to feel, to embrace my grandchildren, just to embrace life, the sun, moon, and stars, brother, everything. So thank you so much for having me on your podcast again. Um, Podcast, brother. I'm falling in love. I love the work that y'all doing. And
Thank
like you said, we're here to talk about what needs to be taught. No strip, no edit.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, yeah. This all hard lessons learned and truth and this wisdom learned the hard way right here on this platform, man. Real quick, let me do shout outs to BMI last night, Black Men in Atlanta. Went to a meeting. Man, shout out to the other organization, the two ladies, man. Charge it to my head and not my heart. I got the opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with the individual that ran Joe Biden's campaign for Pennsylvania in the last election, and one of the ladies that was helping out with the campaign here with Stacey Abrams. So I thought that was dope, sitting down with some organizers in the community and starting to have conversations with different lanes of advocates and changers and stuff like that. So that was fire. Shout out to them. And then, like you said, you spoke to the advocates and everybody, man. Shout out to everybody in the trenches right now. Don't underestimate your voice. Shout out to everybody that's supporting a loved one. You don't necessarily got to be out front, or maybe you're not making phone. Maybe you're just answering the phone for your loved one, man. Shout out to you too. That's a stressful journey. It becomes tiring. You're in the trenches with your loved ones, so we definitely want to acknowledge you as well. We're up here, both previously incarcerated, now out here embracing, this chance, this part of the journey, and doing our part. And I think what's fire, what I love about my platform is I get the opportunity to bring a bunch of people from all over and connect with them, and we end up working together and do things. And it's because we're all focused on one thing. We want to change something for the better.
Yes, sir.
But like I put in the topic, going straight into it, we still got ego as an issue. Ego still exists in our community. Sometimes it gets in the way of people crossing right before they about to get to the finish line. I've seen dynasties. I've seen group. I've just seen movements, people, whatever, families. Sometimes they don't keep going because of ego. Like, what's your take on ego right now in the Black community, or in 2023, or however you want to, really speak on it and touch on it?
Yes, sir. Good topic, brother, because it's relevant to pretty much everything that we're doing. It's a part of our makeup. It's a part of who we are. And when you put the topic to me, um, and then since I've been home, I try to be very humble. I know that's the counter to the ego, that's very impulsive, um, that got the pride to it. So when I was doing my little, just to reflect back on some of my studies, so I thought about the super ego, the id, and the ego. And so the thing about the super ego, if you want to work for the purpose of, you mentioned unity. How does ego impact us not being unified? And so that I know that these three things right here, the super ego, the id, and the ego, they must work in accord with the super ego. And the work of the super ego is to suppress the urges of the id and try to make the ego behave morally rather than realistically. And so this particular aspects come in because, the ego is based upon what we learn from our past, what we learn from our parents, what we learn from the society. And so there are
Right.
certain norms and values that we take on, that if a level of self-respect is taught a certain type of way, your ego is attached to that. And then based upon your level of understanding spiritually and morally in relationship, and to making sure that the ego is not constantly clashing with other people,
Right.
with other ego. And I find that, that happens in an organization. And so I know I still have ego, but I do everything in my power to control it, because I understand what it would do. It would separate, it would destroy, you know what I'm saying? It would betray. And so as I work, and shout out to RIHD, Miss K, and the beautiful team of the sisters that fight for freedom, justice, and equality, and working with them. And sometimes, this work is so hard, and then we putting our sweat, blood, and tear into it, and then we can sometimes feel rubbed the wrong way, and it can come up and say, "Oh, you messing with my pride now, my ego," and stuff can get
Right.
real heated, stuff can get very violent. But I always have to keep in mind the whole objective, irregardless of how it may come out, because I know that we're not perfect, we are all growing, we still have shortcomings. So I try to keep that in the forefront. So however it may come out verbally, for the sake of unity, for the sake of making our condition better, for the sake of freedom, justice, and equality, for the sake of love, for the sake of, making sure that the next person is okay. I'm going to subordinate my ego. I'm going to check it. I'm not going to allow it to run impulsively and out of control. Because if I do that, then everything that I'm connected to is going to be affected with the out of control ego. And sometimes my ego says, "Man, you got a big ego." That means you're out of control.
Right.
You see yourself as more important than everybody else in the universe.
Facts.
And there are other people that's more important or should be considered, because you're not the only person in the universe. And so the ego, when I study it, the root meaning of it is I this, I that, so forth and so on. I want to be this, I want to be the big shot, so forth and so on. When you live in a universe where everything works hand in hand for the greater good of how the Most High has set this thing up. If you so egotistical, you'll start destroying things. And I was talking to my brother, a younger brother that I was traveling with today, and we went to a horticulture set, and the brother was sharing with us the importance of the soil, the importance of the worms, everything that makes up so that we can have organic food. So we was talking about MOGs, the food, the food, the artificial modified foods. And we said, man, what individual, what ego created that? So that's an inflated ego to think that you can come and alter the natural order of things. That's a corrupt ego. That's a satanic ego. That's an ego that's way beyond itself, and is considering himself as the I in the center of the universe, that I'm more important, that you should do this, that, and the other, and it's creating so much damage, so much destruction. Because now, when you do that, as I was telling the young brother, I said our native brothers refer to the earth, the planet Earth, as Mother Earth. And all of us love our mother. So when you love your mother, ain't no whole lot of ego. You can't be flipping and tripping on mom. You got to respect her. You got to have a sense of humility, because as the scripture tells us, honor and respect your mother, that your days may be long. And I done went through my stuff. I done went through my hellfire, because I was proudful, egotistical, and I didn't listen to the wisdom of my mother. And so therefore I had to do 35 years and 11 months in prison.
16 years, 11 months for me, because I didn't listen to mine.
Yes,
and boy, was she, and she was nothing but right. You brought up a valid point real quick. In the aspect of ego, when you start to play with nature, or you bringing forth something, you're going against whatever, you're bringing forth ultimately a negative result. There's no way around it. You're bringing forth something that brings forth destruction of the mind. You talked about food, for instance. We started to go outside of our diets. life expectancy, bodies break down, disease is at an all-time high. We see it, and I like how you use that as an illustration. I think what is, I guess, it's crazy to me is oftentimes I don't run into, as an advocate. I'll speak very straightforward. As an advocate, I've had more negative interactions with other advocates at trying to assist for whatever reason than I've had with other people, maybe people that I'm trying to advocate against, which is odd to me. And that's why I asked that. And I want to say this, it's few and far. There's so many dope advocates and organizations. We can all get in the room and have conversations. But sometimes, at least for me, if I see somebody and I'm like, hold on, I want to ask questions. I want to, what I'm saying? I want to know a little bit more. Or sometimes you don't see eye to eye. And I think ego is ultimately a lot of times the reason why we don't grow. You need people to look at things differently. You need to be able to disagree with people so you can go back and say, hold on, who was I tripping, or was he right, or what? You know what I'm saying? You need to be able to basically practice humility so you can be in these environments. And maybe it's not to grow, maybe it's just to understand, because maybe you want to be able to reach a certain group of people, or you want to, you just, whatever it is, you still have to practice a level of humility to where you can maneuver into a specific place. I seen something today that said, if you're the richest man in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
And there's no way a man full of ego would allow himself to go into a room where he wasn't the richest. That's the issue, man. Oh, we got a comment said, Rashid Shabazz said, sometimes people get ego mixed up with confidence. Yeah. Just like aggression mixed up with assertiveness. Yeah. It gets mixed up sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What I guess in your journey, what are some strong suits that you've seen? Because the opposite, we know ego is one of the things that plagues us. But highlight some of the things and ways that you've seen brothers work together, or organizations, or brothers and sisters. Like highlight what allows that to happen. In case maybe I'm coming into this thing and I want to network, but I don't know how to connect with people, or I don't know how to approach events, or whatever. What are some tips and tricks to how to get involved, just connect with people so you can build something better?
Well, let me put it like this. Shout out to Rashid. I was just reading something that said the 7 signs that you have an ego problem. One of them is you don't ask questions. Ignoring feedback you don't like. Number 3, only surrounding yourself with yes people. Number 4, the need for control. Number 5, unable to ask for help. Number 6, always having to win. Number 7, losing touch with people. Those are 7 signs that an individual have an ego problem. And so if you don't want to be a problem where solutions are demanded for those problems, then you don't want to fall in. And these are just signs. And if you don't pay attention to the signs so that you can have a control, check, manageable ego, because you're going to deal with other egos. And each one of us may not be completely aware of each one's development spiritually, morally. We might not have that, because you might be coming into with individuals. Some have more control than others. Some is more willing to listen. Some are more willing to learn. So there's going to be a dynamic that makes sure that when I come into the equation, that I'm going to ask questions. First and foremost, I'm going to set my mindset to be humble, to make sure make sure that I'm humble, that I'm willing to listen, that I'm willing to learn, that I'm willing to listen to feedback, because it's going to be a growth process, particularly when you're talking about unity. And that's been extremely difficult among our group. coming together, doing what needs to be done, realizing that I don't know it all, you don't know it all, but each of us have a gift, and wherever to the level of their gifts has been cultivated, let us operate within those perimeters. I bring this, and everybody knowing their particular role, and when it's time for that individual to exercise his gift, his talent, his will, his creativity, let him do that and be there to back him, to encourage him, because I'm learning. It's a learning process for all of us, and being that this is not necessarily the orientation or norm in the household, how to actually work together as a unit. What are some of the things that will actually hurt and neutralize what we're trying to accomplish for the greater good of the organism or the unit, the family unit, or the community unit, or the nation unit? And so then when we go into, and pride plays a significant role in our ego. And so, I'm often reflecting back, pride goeth before a fall, and a haughty spirit before its destruction. Okay, pride is, the ego is tied up into all of that. So I don't want to be proudful to the degree that I'm gonna produce my fall before I even get a chance to try to accomplish what we say we're going to try to accomplish. And as I look at your show, and as I look at the goal, what it's trying to.
Uh-oh. I think he's buffering out. He spoke about pride before the fall. I'm gonna see if he comes back in. But I think about the young basketball player right now. I think his name's Mike Williams or whatnot. And he's getting ready. Let's go bring it. You back on, Brother Willie?
Yes, sir. I'm back here. Yes, sir.
Got you.
Can you hear me?
Man. Yes, sir.
Went out for me. So that. So I look at some of those things and I try to learn as much as I can, because I know that, as we struggle to survive, ego is playing a significant part. The super ego, the id and the ego, and they should work harmoniously, providing that you have a developed super ego, which deals with your consciousness, your inner voice, and listening to, right and wrong. And you're constantly being self-checked. No, don't do that right there. So you don't have to have nobody outside yourself tell you not to do so and so. Instinctively, the super ego will come on the scene in your conscious mind, and it will flash. Don't do that. Respect that person. Don't go beyond the bounds, and keep the id and the ego in check so that we can make more decisions, rational decisions, so that we can achieve the ultimate success. And so, I went through the same thing, but I noticed in my struggle and with the brotherhood, dealing with various people, could be family issues, man, control them emotions. Don't allow your ego to become so inflated where you feel like you have to argue about a lot of things, because we men, and we don't want to be disrespected. And as Minister Farrakhan said, a lot of time when this happens, it's the God in us that makes us stand up against that which we feel somebody has offended us. But we are not the center of the attention of anything. And the ego will make us be like we the center of everything. It will try to take control of everything. And I definitely I'm gonna humble myself, because we're in the universe. There are people that know more than I know. So let me humble myself and let me be in the room with people who know more than me, so I can continue to learn and to grow and become spiritual. More spiritual than anything, so that I can hear people, I can see where other individuals may be strong at and where they may be weak at, so that I can use their strength to help me to eliminate the weakness, so that we can grow in strength together and get things accomplished. And it just goes back to some of my training while in prison, the proper way of handling people. You can't do that if you got an inflated ego. And so the goal is unity, which is success. So we want to accomplish the greatness of our return to home. And I listened to Brother Pastor Bryant say this. He said, he said, those who have been incarcerated, he said, incarceration is the blueprint for greatness. He didn't elaborate, but when he said that, I said, okay, man, that's interesting to look at it like that. And then he was talking about Dr. Martin Luther King when he went into prison.
Yeah.
And how when he wrote his letters, you know what I'm saying, that more greatness of himself came forth because he was being punished for a good cause. So he was more humble. So he said, redemptive, something about redemption, undeserved redemption or undeserved injustice is redemptive. And so out of him going through what he's going through, because he's dealing with super inflated racist egos, because he wanted to stand up against the oppression. And so they locked him up, so forth and so on. And when I look at that and I see brothers evolving from that situation, and if it is the blueprint, because, you know, man, we're in the furnace of affliction. So we had ego, our ego brought us into prison because we didn't check it. We wasn't able to hear it. The good counsel, the good advice from your woman, from your mom, from your auntie, from your brother, man, stop doing this, man, because you going to prison. And so our ego didn't allow us to hear reasoning, wisdom, because we was moving impulsively according to what we was fed by the environment. We learning from our environment. Everything was fast. We wanted this, that, and the other. And so, you know, we had to go through as a part of our refinement, the purification. Man, okay, man, subordinate this ego, put it up under fire, and let you know, man, that you can't beat everybody. You can't be in control of everybody. You can't win every time. You can if you humble. You'll win every time, because humility allows us to see further. It gives us the ability to see further. Pride, it don't. And so I'd rather, if you want to be successful, then we know that humility is the forerunner for success, not pride, not ego, being too egotistic. And so as we work together, we communicate, you got a platform, and you got to make sure that our egos is in check. We got to constantly be in self-examination, self-analysis, and constantly correcting whatever we know needs to be corrected, because we don't want to impede and affect the health, the peace of mind, the progress, or the success of another human being. I don't want to be responsible for that. So I try to do everything I can to work on self-discipline and self-control, and prayerfully one day have self-mastery over myself, so that I can be more of a benefit to others than less.
Yeah, when you caught up in that ego, you're not aware. You're unaware. You're caught up in your own design. And man, in 2023, you have to be aware. Your head has to be on a swivel. You have to be paying attention, because it's so wicked out there right now. There's a lot of, you know, for all the good, there's a lot of bad. And you gotta get out of that. You've got to connect with people. The old African proverb we've heard time and time again: you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to go together. You got to go with a team. You got to go with the family, a core, a group. And again, I've watched ego. The reason I wanted you to touch on, I'm glad ego has isolated some of the greats. Ego has caused some of the greats to fall. Like I said, we just both said, hey, we fell and you did your time, I did mine, because ego did not allow us to listen. We heard the voice, we felt the feeling, but we denied it because we thought we were above it. So that's why I wanted you to definitely touch on ego today, man. I was as you were touching it on it, I was thinking about separation, division, but also within self. You know, getting caught up in that which isn't true. You know, you can get caught up in your own narrative and thinking that you're right, and no, that's not the design right there. Not like that. Not in that way. Yeah.
And that's where it starts at. It starts in the self first. So you can get ahead of injuring other people if you are constant in self-examination and self-analysis. And this is something that's required, because you got to study yourself. We got to understand ourselves. And so nobody really took the time out. We didn't get it at the home base to really go through a training and understand the ego. It was never brought up. You know, even when you went outside the house, it was never brought up. Even when I went to school, it was never brought up. You might say, man, you egotistical, man. but we never knew what that meant. What you talking about? We
Yeah.
never took the time out to study, to examine, to define, so that we can better understand, and then much less to know the harmful effects of this thing, ego, not being checked and brought up under management. And so when you lack that type of knowledge about these powerful forces that the Most High has blessed us with, man, we'll wreck our own creation and even destroy. And I almost destroyed mine for simply not knowing. And so when you bring up this particular, and they don't even teach this too much, they're teaching in psychology, but when we look at the world today, bro, if we look at this world has a serious ego problem.
They need
Those
to do a
that's
study.
yeah, and I mean, it is something that needs to be taught in the household. It's something that needs to be taught with our children, because I'm saying they go through what they go through. If they don't get their way, because they just set up attention right now. And if they don't get their way, they throw chemicals in human beings. Adults are no different if we're not growing and evolving and improving ourselves psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. Then I'm saying we will be committing the same acts that our little children be committed. And then it will, you know what I'm saying, it will enter into every other fields of endeavor when we interact with other human beings. So I'm like a brother Khalil, and so, you know, I try to be that way. I think I've been doing pretty good. I try to hear people out. I try to follow good examples of those who are not dominated by ego, but more so dominated by humility. And Minister Farrakhan has been that example for me as a Black man, so that I can have perpetuity and longevity, knowing that we are constantly under siege and constantly under attack. Because when we are under attack, then the whole family structure is under attack. Yes, and so we got to, and if we want to survive, if the police pull me over, oh Lord, here it comes. So you don't want to be out of control, because you can lose your life.
Yeah.
Man, and get the argument, man. That's your ego talking, man. Tone that stuff down, because you're dealing with somebody that may want to take you out. They just came on North Carolina news with Bill officers talking about what they want to do, kill Black people. I want to bury this nigga, so forth. They just came on the news talk, and this is in Texas. They texting this stuff and talking, and it came out what they're thinking.
They the only ones that we heard of that got caught talking about it out loud. We know and understand.
Yes,
you have to be on point.
This is naturally. This is going on naturally. Peace, Jennifer. How you doing? Ignite Justice, and it's dangerous, brother. So if we don't have a checked ego, a controlled ego, we can literally lose our life right now. Like you said, it's crazy out there. There's a lot of good is going on. There's more crazy going on. And even as I listen to watch my younger brothers, egos big as the universe. Just certain things you just can't say, man. You can lose your life just saying the wrong thing. And so, you know, it's a struggle. It's something that we're going to have to, as men, as we continue to grow, evolve, and mature, it's going to require us, brother, to help our young brothers, to give them the guidance and the example that they need to operate within our family structure, to operate within our organization, showing that we are actually growing, that we got the lessons that we should have got before we got incarcerated, but we really got them now, and we are here to be a vessel of service. And of course, we're still polishing and refining ourselves so that, you know what I'm saying, we can really be a contributing asset to everybody that we come in contact with, and to be able to benefit with them. And they see, okay, man, this man he's much more than what the world may say he is. And he may have been only that because of his ego, unchecked ego. So he, you know what I'm saying, he did some harm. And so I'm just so thankful that, you know, even at 56, just got a birthday April the 4th, that I'm still growing. I still want to be humble. I still get touched. I still have that impulsive feeling. But I'm like, no, I know what that did to me 35 years and another month ago. So, man, you need to tone it down. Work a little bit more hard. Shanoa, peace and blessings to you, sis. So great topic, brother. It's something that as we interact with other people, to ever keep that in mind. Is my ego in check? I'm offending the next person? Because as a Muslim, we said, peace be unto you. That's a prayer. I don't want to disturb you in no shape, form, or fashion. I want the best for you. I want to see you succeed. I want to be able to work with you, to cooperate with you on righteous cause, great causes, so that we can try to change some of the negatives that's ill affecting our community, our household. And just this morning, I learned, and my cousin was just listening to something, and it come right on the TV. Three sisters had got shot in Halifax on the south side of Richmond, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, look at ego doing this destructive work. Yes, sir.
We had to touch on it. I wanted to definitely touch on it. I got out the way because I already knew you was gonna go in. Man, more topics on the way if that's okay. I
Yes,
like
sir.
that. I throw the alley oop and because I know you got a lot. It's not just study. It's not, and that's what I like. Is we not really talking about just what we reading or read from books. This is life
Yeah,
experience. This is
absolutely.
journey. This is what we witnessed people that we cared about go through, etc. And that's what this platform's about. It says that a smart man or a knowledgeable man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So if you
Yes, sir.
haven't gone down certain paths, then hopefully you don't have to. Hopefully you hear this story or you hear us talking about certain things and you spread the word. It's not for you, maybe it's for somebody that's close to you. That's what this platform's about. Let's do away with ego. We need to unify. That's how you get things done. And how different the world would be if we could just put the differences aside.
Yes, sir.
Um, Brother Willie, you got any last words for today's episode?
Just salute to everybody, brother Khalid. Lessons learned, Ignite Justice, RIHD, all of the wonderful organizations that's struggling, that's fighting, and trying to alleviate some of the oppression, the injustice, the inequality that we're suffering up under the wrong management, up under the wrong authority that dehumanizes the human being. And I don't know no greater ego than other individuals want to master and control and suppress and oppress the human being, the human soul, which is, rooted in the Most High. And when you have individuals that wants to do that on a daily and consistent basis to master the human being, other than allowing that human being to master themselves or to help that human being to become a master of themselves, they want to take advantage of us. And so, shout out to everybody that's doing whatever good that they are doing and speaking whatever positive and constructive words to anybody that needs, and then also, brother, ego and its effect on mental health. You got to
Man,
because that's because ego, if allowed to run unchecked, will cause mental health problems and issues for us. And so, as we read about, as Rashid said, the life experiences of those who came before us. And that's why, it's good for those who desire to be wise to study wise men who has came before us so that we can get the lesson as opposed to having to experience the lesson, we can get the lesson before actually having to experience it because we can read other individuals and what they went through, learn those lessons, internalize it. So like you said, wise men learn from the mistakes of others. So, if we can understand that, if we can comprehend that, then we will keep on reading. And as the Holy Quran said, read. And surely thy Lord is most generous. And so we know in this world, they created laws where they didn't want us to read. Now, why you don't want me to read? Because reading helps us to develop the mind. It allows us to be a better leader of ourselves, and it allows us to be in control over the ego with a developed super ego, checking the id in the ego so that we can make intelligent, disciplined, rational, and logical and scientific decisions as we move forward in life.
indeed. Hey, um, ego and mental health. I wanted to go on a whole
Yes,
tangent. I'm not even gonna go on a whole tangent, but I can talk a little bit about that right there.
yes, sir.
And maybe I will on
Yes,
one of these upcoming episodes. But uh, I just to anybody out there, man, keep fighting, keep going. You get tired sometimes, but that's okay. Understand just because you're the one that's often helping everyone around you, that does not mean that you may not need help at times too, man. That's just been on my heart for all the freedom fighters, advocates, those that are standing in the trenches with their loved ones, man. Self-care is key. Self-care is key in this season, man. Shout out to again Ignite Justice, Jennifer Dalton, Emily Shelton, Noah, everybody that's up here, man. I ain't got enough time to shout out everybody, man. But thank you for just being up here, guys, and continue to push the platform, spread the message. We're just trying to give what we've learned. We'll just give what's been given to us, and that's it, man.
yes, yes, sir.
We are out. Website launches May 1st, d100tv.org. And that's it. Big announcements on the way. And my wife, Mrs. April Willers, the Prison Wife Chronicles, in
Yes,
7 days, 6 days. She got a whole show. I don't even know what her. She got segments, and she got a real show. My show, we just get up here and we just talk. She got a lot going on, y'all. Tune in for that too, man. We out till
sir.
next time. Peace, love, and blessings, man. Positive vibes to you and yours. Stay free, stay focused. Peace.
Yes, sir.